I was a heathen. And it wasn't until I was 30 that I actually came to the Lord, man. And it was a slow process because I had a lot of baggage. You got to imagine, as just a white kid growing up in the city, it was just a lot of craziness happened, you know. Parents of drug addicts. My father was murdered, and he was a drug addict, and then turned my mom into some crazy downward spiral. We won't even discuss her testimony. Life was a struggle, and so when I'm in prison and I'm reading these things, in county jail reading these things, and then in prison later reading the same things, you read the Bible, you reach out. I'm like, where were you when? Because if I was fearfully and wonderfully made, where were you when? But when I hit 30, you know, 2000s have come and gone, and I'm like, man, what is happening? You know, and I realized that God had brought me, I've had some prayers, God had brought me to this spot, and I was like, well, if you're real, I really want to know you're real. And was like, your word says that a perverse man needs a sign, and I need a sign. And it was my first snotty-nosed prayer. And the next day he sent a pastor into the tattoo shop to get a compass, because a compass is, for me, the guy said it was, life is a journey, not a destination. And I just like broke down bawling, because that's one of my taglines, you know what I'm saying? And it was like God speaking to me right there, you know? So that actually started my sanctification, my road to salvation was that moment. Now, I didn't say it wasn't like a fall down on the ground and turn into a brand new person overnight, because like I said, I had tons of baggage. But that's what started the road to recovery, you know what I mean? I mean, I had a divorce after that. Yeah, so like there was a lot of crazy stuff that actually happened in those 3 years of what I would consider my cup being cleaned out. They say that God detests divorce, but God was in the divorce. And I'm not saying he caused it, I'm saying he was still there and he was in it. He was in my divorce. It's like, there was literally a 3 or 4 year weeding process. And I liken it like, I have this cup that I do life in. I am eating out of it, sleeping out of it, having sex in it, pooping in it, doing drugs in it. It's like this, it's my life, it's my cup, right? All the greed and all the tension, everything, it's all there. And then slowly, Jesus' water, I allow it in, and his living water pours and softens stuff up, and stuff comes out of it. And it feels good, and I can breathe a bit, and that it's kind of clearing, I can see stuff. And I let stuff go because I like that clearness, but then there's some stuff that comes up, floats to the top, and I'm embarrassed by what it is, and I pack it back down to the bottom of that cup. And it takes a long time for me to go, okay, you can open up those rooms too, or let that part of that vessel go too. And then the ugly stuff comes back up, and finally one day I'm like, okay, you can take it. You realize that cup is glass, you can see right through it. And that's transparency. So that was my process. I didn't just kneel down in a baseball field and turn into a different person. You know, it was a long process because I had a lot of baggage. But that's my testimony.
I feel like God is trying to show me that it's not about me, that it's about him. But he's inviting me into the conversation. He's inviting me to be part of it. His mission is to become king on earth. Now having Christ in my life, I realize that there's so many other people out there hurting. There's so many people that are just as scared as I was. And so to lock shields with them and stifle darkness out of their life one step at a time, and reach out and give them a hand when they're down is the me now. He built me in such a way that I'm actually able to open myself up in front of other men who think that they're monsters, They hold it all inside themselves. They're the only one going through this. And I'm actually able to slowly peel that off of them in love. And this brought me to where now I'm actually teaching middle school at the church. That's crazy because I'm afraid of kids, truthfully, because they're so honest. And as a kid growing up in the projects, I was shunned, I was the stinky kid or whatever it was, the poor kid. So it's my job to gift these children with what I know. I'm not raising or teaching children, I'm teaching our future Christian adults here. And so I approach it with that, with vulnerability, showing them the mistakes I made in my life and that they're not alone. They're not the only one going through those problems. I am a father, a husband to a wonderful partner. Never would have ever expected that. To be able to wake up every day and see my daughter's face and see my wife and not have gunshots or where am I getting my next meal at on my mind. I want people watching this video to realize that they're not alone in their muck and mire. And they're not as dirty as they think they are. And that they're never too far gone to be saved.